Hello, my amazing Algebra Half students. This is Mrs. A, and I love math. And today we're talking about lesson 37, and we're talking about mixed number subtraction. So we're going to do this same problem two ways, just like your book does. The first way they do the problem is they get improper fractions, and then they get a like number, like denominator, and then they subtract. And then they put the answer back into mixed numbers. Wow, that's a lot of work and totally unnecessary, which we shall see when we do it the second, easier, quicker way. Okay, so we're going to do it the long way first, just as a review. Then we're going to do it the fast and easy way. Okay, so we have 4 1/4 minus 1 1/8. So the first way we're going to do it is make this an improper fraction. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 1 is 17. 17/4 minus 1 times 8 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 9/8. Okay, now we can't subtract yet because we don't have a common denominator. But if we multiply this one by 2 over 2, then we will have a common denominator, and that will be 34 over 8 minus 9 over 8. Okay, well, 34 minus 9 is 25. Okay, so then we wind up with 25 over 8, and 25 divided by 8 goes 3 whole times, and 1/8 left over. So 3 1/8 left over. So we got it done. Didn't take us too long. But now let's talk about the quick and easy way to do this problem. Okay, so here's the problem written again, but I'm going to go ahead and write it on a smaller board because I'm going to write it vertically. And you're going to see how much faster this is. This will be the method that we use for the rest of the section. Now, we're not going to turn it into an improper fraction. We're going to leave the fractions and the whole parts separate, and we're going to put a little imaginary line down there. We don't have to draw that line, but it's just that we're going to deal with the fractions. So 1/4 is the same thing as 2/8, and 2/8 take away 1/8 is 1/8, and 4 take away 1 is 3, and voila, done deal. Look at that. Now, which way do you want to do it? Do you want to do it this way, or do you want to do it this way? Did we get the same answer? 3 1/8. 3 1/8. I'm doing it this way because we don't have to put it into an improper fraction, mixed number, and then we don't have to put it into an improper fraction and then at the end turn it back into a mixed number. So I'm doing it this way, okay? All right, but they're both correct. It's just this one is faster and easier, especially when we get to really, really big numbers. Who wants to multiply 416 by 4? Not this teacher. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to deal just with the fractions, and then we're going to deal with the whole number parts, and we're not going to have to do all those steps in between. Now we have 3/4 minus 1/16. Well, 3/4 needs to have a 16 on the bottom. So what if, I know that 4 times 4 is 16. What if I multiply by 1 in the form of 4 over 4? And that's going to give me a 12/16. And then 12/16 take away, because it's subtraction, 12/16 take away 1/16 is 11/16. And then 416 minus 21, 6 minus 1 is 5. And 1 minus 2 doesn't work, so I'm going to come over here, borrow 10. Basically, I'm borrowing 1, and it's going to be 10 when I get it over here in the next column. And so we have 11 minus 2 is 9, and 3 minus 0 is 3. And that is the end of that problem. In this problem, we have just a little bit something new. When we get a common denominator, it's going to need to be 15 because 3 goes into 15 5 times. So we're going to multiply by 5 over 5, which is 1, and we're going to get 5/15. But we have a little problem. 5/15 minus 13/15 gives us a problem. This is smaller than this one. What we're going to do to make that work is we're going to go over here to the whole number, okay? And we're going to say, you know what? I'm going to ask for this one. Please, may I borrow this one? I'm just going to cancel it like that, make it a 0. And then that 1 whole is going to travel over here as 15/15. Okay, so now I've got 15/15 plus 5/15. So it winds up being 20/15. Okay, now how can I write this since my board is all out? So 15/15 plus 5/15 is, let's just erase this and say 20/15. Okay, so we already took care of that. 20/15, take away 13/15. 20 minus 13 is 7/15. And then 0, take away 2. Oops, we got to come over here and borrow there. 10, take away 2 is 8. 5, take away 8. Oops, we got to borrow again. 3, 1, 15, take away 8 is 7. 3, take away 0 is 3. And we have our answer without too much difficulty at all. And now we're ready to practice. So here we are with practice A. Copy down your practice problem and pause your video. Hopefully you did that. Now we have one thing that's just a little bit different from our examples. Notice we have a 5 and a 3 for our denominator. Neither one goes into the other, so we're going to have to multiply them both by a different form of 1. So the smallest number that I can go to that has both 3 and 5 as a factor would be 15. So I'm trying to get to 15 on the bottom of both of these fractions, which means I will have to multiply each one by 1, but in a different form. 5 times 3 is 15, so we're going to multiply by 3 over 3, which is 1 and does not change the value. It just changes the form. So 5 times 3 is 15. 1 times 3 is 3. And isn't 3/15 the same thing as 1 over 5? And then 3 times something is 15. That needs to be a 5 over 5, doesn't it? So I'm going to multiply by 5 over 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 2 times 5 is 10. And now, whoo, they gave me a whopper, didn't they? Because look, 3/15 minus 10/15. I'm going to have to come over here and borrow. Okay, now some books call this renaming. I call it borrowing. Whatever. Okay, they mean the same thing, and it's the same process. We've got to come over to the 7 and say, hey, Mr. 7, I need to borrow or rename or whatever. I need to make that a 6. Okay, so that was 1 whole that I took away. So that 1 whole is going to come over here, and it's going to still be 1, but now the form of that 1, since we have denominator 15, is going to be 15/15. And the 15/15 came from the 1 that I took away from the 7. Okay, so nothing has really changed. I just took 1 from here to put it over here. It's still part of the number that's on the top. So 3 plus 15 is 18. So now 18/15. See if I can squeeze that over there. And then 18/15 take away 10/15 is 8/15 for the fraction portion. And then we have 6 take away 4 is 2. So the answer should be 2 and 8/15. Well, what could you do to check it? Remember, sometimes it's a good idea to check. Could we take 2 and 8/15 and add the 4 and 2/3? Okay, if I did it correctly, I should come back to 7 and 1/5, right? Okay, well, the 8/15 already has a denominator of 15. So we're going to erase this minus sign because that was part of that other problem, and we're doing a little check right here. So the 2/3 could be times 5 times 5, 10/15. Okay, now we're adding. So we have 8 plus 10, because they're both 15ths. 8 plus 10 is 18/15, which is going to simplify. And 2 plus 4 is 6. But then this is an improper fraction. So I say, okay, 18 divided by 15 is 1 whole with 3/15 left over. So I can change this into 1 and 3/15. But then the 1 can add to the 6 to make a 7. And the 3/15, if I simplify by dividing by 3 and dividing by 3, turns into 1/5, which is what I started with. So we did it and we checked it. We did the subtraction problem and then we checked it with addition. This is your answer. And this over here was your check. Okay, this is our last practice. We only had 2 practices, so I hope you will pause your video. Hopefully you did that on your own. Okay, so now we have something minus something. We're going to need a common denominator. So 5 and 8 will both go into 40. And that's the smallest number because 5 is prime and 5 cannot go into 8. So 5 times 8 is 40. So we're going to multiply this fraction by 8/8. And we're going to multiply this fraction by 5/5. So we end up with 8/40. And then on the bottom, 35/40. Oh, we're going to have to go and borrow a 1 from the 6, so that's going to become a 5. And that 1 that we took is going to travel over here and become a plus 40/40, because 40/40 is 1. And then 40 plus 8 is 48/40. So now we have enough. 48/40 minus 35/40 is going to be 13/40. Okay, and then we're going to come over here to our whole number, and 5 take away 2 is 3, and 1 take away 4 doesn't work, so we're going to come over here and make that a 2 and bring the extra 1. Remember, 100 is 10 tens. So we bring that extra 10 tens over and we make it 11 minus 4 is 7. 2 take away 0 is 2. And that should be my answer. Okay, but again, I could very quickly check it. And I could say, okay, 273 and 13/40 plus, so when I'm checking a subtraction problem, I add back up, right? So this plus this is this. So 42 and 7/8. And 7/8, we already know that 7/8 is 35/40. So we can write 35/40. 13 plus 35 is 48/40. And we get a 5 and an 11 and a 3. But then 48/40 is improper. So 48 divided by 40 goes one more time, and we end up with 315 plus 1 And then the 48 divided by 40 took 1 with 8/40ths left over, but 8/40ths is 1/5. So we wind up with 316 and 1/5, and that's what we were supposed to have. And we have learned how to subtract mixed numbers. And this is Mrs. A, and may God bless your day.